Welcome to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show, hosted by Mason Kern. He keeps his nose to the ground to report on what's trending in professional and college sports, to inform, enlighten, and entertain. And now it's
the Sports Watchdog.
the Sports Watchdog, Mason Kern.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show here on NBC Sports Radio AM 1060 Phoenix. As always, I'm your host Mason Kern, joining you every Sunday, and got another jam-packed episode for you guys. We got a really special interview for you later on in the show. It's Keith Bulluck, the three-time NFL All-Pro, one-time Pro Bowler, first-round draft picked by the Tennessee Titans. And, he gives us great perspective later on. We're going to hear from him. It's really something I'm super looking forward to, and I'm sure you guys are too. Lots to get to, sports hot topics. We got happenings on the Hardwood. We got a lot of stuff to get to today, so let's jump right in. All right, guys, in local sports hot topics this week, we're going to focus on college football, namely because U of A taking on Hawaii, as well as ASU in their kind of game prep scenario situations as they look to play Kent State on August 29th. Starting with Arizona State, okay, guys, this is a team that could, and may be dramatically better than last year, depending on the offense, because I think the defense is suited to be much better with an older, more experienced defense. Last year they played a bunch of freshmen. This year you got Ashari Crosswell at DB, Chase Lucas and Kobe Williams back as starters, veteran presence. Got a very nice rotation on the defensive line, about 7 to 8 guys deep. They obviously run that 3-3-5 scheme, so the front three are going to be rotating quite a bit, but the linebacker core also young, but really good, talented with Merlin Robertson, Darian Butler, and even a mix of Tyler Johnson and Kalen Curse-Thomas back there. But in other ASU football news, at least, the 5 captains for this season were named, and they are obviously, you got kind of the veteran, more leadership guys, the most obvious of which I would say is Cole Cabral. He was a captain last year, senior offensive lineman this year, switching from center to left tackle due to just some switches along the offensive line because Zach Robertson is out with a personal matter. So we have Cole Cabral, who was a Remington Award watch lister in this preseason, which is given to the nation's best center. Now he's going to be playing left tackle this season because of this switch, now that Zach Robertson, who was slated to be at left tackle, is out indefinitely for these personal reasons. But you have Cade Cody, who has won the center job. Jarrett Bell, Roy Hemsley are basically fighting for the only remaining open spot on the starting offensive line at right guard, because you have Alex Losoya at left guard, and you have Stephen Miller at right tackle. Now, the other pretty obvious choice at captain, Eno Benjamin, broke program rushing records last year, single-season program rushing records last year. The junior running back most likely, or probably will, declare for the NFL draft at the end of this season. And he's at the top watch list for a number of them for top running back in the country. The other captains, you have senior defensive back, cornerback, actually, more specifically, Kobe Williams, who has been extremely consistent all camp, and he's someone who's going to be very reliable, according to Coach Tony White, his position coach. And then you also have sophomore, kind of unprecedented in recent ASU history, at least. You have sophomore linebacker Darian Butler, who had no other Pac-12 offers before committing to ASU before the start of last season. Antonio Pierce, his position coach, played against him when he was the head coach at Long Beach Poly High School in inner city LA. Darian Butler was at Narbonne, which is a pretty well-known high school there, but pretty under-recruited, and now he was the second highest leading tackler, tied for second in most tackles on the team last year. Now he's a captain, so obviously speaks to the volumes of Antonio Pierce and their relationship. And then, even more unprecedented, you have a true freshman in offensive utility player Ethan Long. He got recruited as a quarterback, lost the battle I would say pretty much in the spring. It was well known that he was not going to be the guy. Another true freshman, Jaden Daniels, won the battle. He will be the team's starting quarterback. But Ethan Long has played a variety of other positions, a lot on special teams, a lot at the H slot receiver position, possibly backing up Kyle Williams this season. But someone who won't be a starter but is a captain just speaks to the level of respect his players and coaches have for him. So that's ASU football basically in a nutshell for you. And stay tuned for some great ASU content for throughout the season.
If you're struggling to pay or haven't been making your student loan payments, listen carefully to this urgent alert. Have you been out of school for 10 or more years and you're still making your student loan payments? Are your student loans past due or even in default? Can't go back to school because of an old student loan problem? We can help you if you qualify. Your student loans can be taken out of default. We can stop the wage garnishments, stop the collection calls, and stop the seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and see if we can help you reduce your student loan payments. One quick 10-minute call could solve them right now. So call the Student Loan Helpline now. 800-380-4259, 800-380-4259, 800-380-4259, 800-380-4259. This is a fee-based document preparation service to help you access free government programs. Call for complete details, not available in all states.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show here on NBC Sports Radio AM 1060 Phoenix. Today I have a really exciting, interesting guest. It's Keith Bulluck, out of NFL Pro Bowler, NFL All-Pro for 3 years. Tennessee Titans great, and just so excited to have you, Keith. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, really appreciate you taking the time. And before I get really into the career on the field, your post-career endeavors, I always like to ask people kind of how they got their start in their sport of choice. So for you, what kind of started it all for you in football?
Well, what really started my love for football, I think, it was the first game I really watched, and that was back in the 80s when the Raiders played the Redskins, and then after that I remember the Joe Montana, Dan Marino Super Bowl, and I always wanted to play football, and I didn't really get an opportunity to play organized until 5th grade, and then it just took off, and I just stuck with it. And I was a 3-sport athlete, but the schools came calling when it came to football, and I think I would have chosen football over baseball and basketball anyway.
Right, yeah, and as you kind of, I guess, were growing up playing, obviously an athlete, these multi-sport, different kind of things. When did you kind of realize, hey, I could play football or any sport for that matter, really, at the college level, but then even maybe the professional level as well?
Well, yeah, that's a great question, because at first I just played football for fun, and then I went into foster care at the age of 12, and I knew I was aging out at 18, and I wasn't thinking about college or anything like that at 12, 13 years old, but about like my sophomore year, I started to turn the corner athletically, especially with football, and I started to get some inquiries for, D1 scholarships. So then I really focused in and made it my goal to get a scholarship, and I got one, and I accepted one to Syracuse University. Played there around some really talented guys. The first person that I saw and realized what it was like to be a college football player aspiring to have a professional career was Marvin Harrison when he was in his senior year. So, to see his work ethic, and then to see the Donovan Dariuses, the Bucky Jones, Donovan McNabbs, and I can name them all, Dwight Freeney, everybody who won and get ready for their opportunity. It definitely inspired me to make it to the NFL.
Right, and I know, just on a little bit of a tangent, you had mentioned at 12 you go into the foster care system, and I know now since then, in 2003 you started the Believe in Achieve Foundation. In 2009 you created the Steve McNair Iron Will Scholarship. So how just the philanthropy aspect of it, just how does it feel just being able now to kind of give back after everything kind of you went throughout your childhood?
It was great, and I always said that if I was ever in the opportunity, if I ever was in a position based upon football, the platform that it presented me, to give back, I would. And, like you said, in 2002, 2003, I started my Keith Bulluck Believe in Achieve Foundation, and it was really just to assist with the needs of foster kids, because I've been there once before, and I could relate firsthand what I was missing and things that I could have used help with. And my foster mom, she had 2 kids of her own, so anytime that I can provide book bags or take the kids Christmas shopping, or we go bowling, or just be there as a big brother, that's kind of what the purpose was, because like I said, I had gone through it firsthand.
Right, yeah, totally. And I know now earlier this month you announced the launch of the Outside Game. So can you kind of get into a little bit what that is and kind of what the purpose of this is?
Yeah, I mean, the Outside Game, I partnered up with Don Povia, who was the creator of this sports media platform called Blogs with Balls. And we're partners and friends over some other things. But I had attended an event in 2007, and I loved the format. I loved how it was panel discussions on issues and topics that related to athletes and the sports world. And at this one at 2007 in Chicago at the draft, they had the president of the NFLPA up there. They had former athlete Kevin Blackistone was there. So it was really, I actually spoke on one of those panels as well. So I enjoyed the rawness of it and the honesty of, the panels. Not everybody was agreeing, but, you get to a point to agree to disagree. And, that brings us to the Outside Game, where I want to bring the athlete aspect to it, because I see it as an opportunity for athletes that definitely have a voice, whether it be on social media or even if they're in, mainstream media, to come out and speak about topics that you that you might hear about briefly on your certain media channels. But here we want to have real live discussions about these topics. The Outside Game on September 5th, we'll be talking about women's equality. We'll be talking about marijuana, athletes in the marijuana business and how they monetize without a stigma. We'll be talking about mental health as well in sports. And we'll always have a feature of a storytelling panel. And I have my former teammate, Pac-Man Jones, coming to tell his story and take questions about, his roller coaster career that actually turned out to be a great 12, 13-year career. And this is just a platform that, I'm creating, and we're going to continue to build out to present these opportunities for athletes and media, tech and business all to come together and, enjoy an opportunity to network as well as hear and interact with a lot of these athletes and that are here to tell their stories.
Yeah, definitely really cool. I mean, I'm sure that obviously brings in a lot of different types of perspectives, and I know you said it's kind of like agree to disagree on a bunch of different things, but that's, I mean, being able to kind of bring a bunch of different people together and hear everyone's opinions on I mean, all these different kinds of issues, definitely super cool for sure. And I want to go back just a little bit now because I know I took us on a little bit of a tangent earlier, but so you end up going to Syracuse, and as you progress through your career there, how does it come about, or when is it that you realize, okay, this is something that I can possibly take to the NFL level and do this for a living?
You know what? I went to Syracuse as a safety, and I redshirted. So my first year as a starter, I split time with a fifth-year senior, and I played all right. We had comparable stats. So he actually got a free agent opportunity that spring when the NFL draft came around. So I definitely saw myself as being able to, get an opportunity in the NFL if I just worked hard for the next 3 years. But unfortunately, Coach Pasqualoni changed my position that spring, and he moved me to outside linebacker. So it was just one of those things. Like I got it in my mind to, either way I was going to have to work. I was going to learn this position and create myself an opportunity to play in the NFL. I didn't necessarily expect to be a first-round draft pick when it first started. Right. But when I got to my senior year, that was my goal, was to play at that level to hopefully get drafted in the first round.
Right, and obviously having so much success even after this position change, which obviously shook up. I mean, you got to learn so many different new things when you change positions, obviously. But even still, just the tempo, the pace of the game from high school to college is such a dramatic jump. How is it then going from college to the pros, especially being a first-round pick where you might have a little bit more expectations put on you?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, it's funny. I was fortunate, man. I guess it just depends on the way you look at it. And what I mean by that is, the Titans just came from losing the Super Bowl by a yard, and they didn't get worse, as a team. They got better. So,
right.
And that wasn't by drafting me. What I mean by that was it was a veteran team that lost the Super Bowl by a yard. That and they were a wild card 8-8 team the year before. So the mentality of the team that I came on was Super Bowl caliber, and that's kind of what I learned. So it wasn't really a real big use for the first round draft pick the first year.
Right.
And my role changed a little bit more the second year, but it wasn't until my third year that I became a full-time starter and played in 128 straight games after that. So I think I kind of got an opportunity to learn slowly. So I hit the ground running. Those 2 years I wasn't playing, I'm not going to lie. I was kind of questioning, if I was a bust or why wasn't I getting on the field? Because
right.
I'm watching, my guys that I got drafted with, LeVar Arrington and Brian Urlacher and Julian Peterson, John Abraham, they're going on to, Pro Bowls, defensive rookie of the year, and I'm still playing special teams and situational football. So, I was just really focused and determined that when I got off the field that they were never going to take me off. And, that's kind of what happened. It took an injury. So, I really was fortunate.
Right, yeah. And, I know you mentioned that injury, but you still 128 straight games without, not starting. That takes a lot of durability. So, I know it's football, contact sports, so just how – is it just preparation? Is it something specific you do? How do you maintain that for such a long amount of time?
You know what? You got to have, God on your side a little bit, for sure, a little bit, faith, God, however you want to compartmentalize it. But I definitely took care of my body. And, the way you play. You have some games where, you're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens, Kansas City Chiefs, you might have to put your big boy pads on, and it's going to be a bang-em-up bruiser game, and, that's not 16 games out of the week, but some guys' style defensively, they, throw their bodies around recklessly, unnecessarily all the time, and, that's just their style of play. You can't critique, a quarterback style because he runs with the ball and he's effective. Of course, he's going to put himself at more risk to get injured. And yeah, I just think that my style and on top of, just being durable and work, my off-season regimen helped me out. But it's not that I was not a physical player or turned down any physicality. It's just that, look, you pick and choose your battles. Yeah,
for sure. Totally. Well, Keith, we're running out of time here, so I don't want to keep you that much longer. Where can our listeners go to get more information on you, on the outside game, and anything else related there too?
Oh, yeah. You can check me out on Twitter at KBULL53, on Instagram at Keith Bulluck53. You can find information on the outside game at the outside game on Twitter. And look, it'll be coming. It's not going to be a one-off event. Hope this one will be a great one. And, hopefully some of these listeners out there can get to an outside event or even check us out on our website. So I appreciate the time and appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Keith. Well, everyone, make sure to go check out his handles. Make sure to go check out the outside game. It's sure to be a great event. Keith, thank you so much again for your time. All right, everyone. The Sports Watchdog Radio Show here on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060 Phoenix. We'll be right back.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from Resort Release, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contract. Resort Release is offering a Better Business Bureau accredited way to legally get rid of your timeshare guaranteed. With our guarantee and transfer service, you'll never pay another timeshare maintenance bill again, and your contract will be terminated. You can begin saving today, even if you've tried another company to get rid of your timeshare. Call and see if we can help. At Resort Release, we only accept accept payment after an agreement has been made to get you out of your timeshare. Make this completely free call and learn how this honest Midwest-based company can help anyone, anywhere, legally get out of their timeshare nightmare, guaranteed. Call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation.
800-296-1332, 800-296-1332, 800-296-1332. That's 800-296-1332.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf. Call 800-605-4650. 800-605-4650. That's 800-605-4650.
You ready to hoop it up? This is Happenings on the Hardwood.
This has been probably one of the all-time free agency periods that I've ever experienced, just in terms of the dynamic of the league and the face completely shifting. I mean, the shift in power has been remarkable, to say the least. And it all starts really with not the collapse of, I wouldn't say, but the transition away from the Warriors dynasty. Because, I mean, for the last 5-6 years, you have arguably one of the greatest teams of all time in the 73-9 Warriors team, who get Kevin Durant, further pushing their title onslaught. They win 2 titles with him. And now, I mean, a slew of injuries, which, I mean, it's the game of basketball. It happens, but leads them. They get to the finals once more. They play a Kawhi Leonard-led Toronto Raptors team who had never achieved a finals berth in franchise history. And guess what? They go out and win. And even when all seemed lost, Kawhi Leonard is the dynasty breaker. He ends the Miami Heat's tenure with LeBron James, obviously leading that charge in the Big Three. He ends that with the Spurs. Then he ends the Spurs by kind of requesting a trade and saying, I don't really want to be here. Goes to Toronto in a trade, not necessarily his preferred destination, but guess what? He leads that team with no all-stars. I mean, Kyle Lowry arguably, but I mean, not the level the Warriors have, to a championship in his only season. And then guess what? 22 days after he wins Finals MVP and wins the championship, he comes home to the LA Clippers. So, I mean, that shift in power, and with all the opportunity that he had to kind of, I mean, when you think about it, kind of reshape the face of the league, because he had options to go really wherever he wanted that had a max contract. You could have gone to the Lakers that already had Anthony Davis and LeBron James, which really, I mean, that big three would have been immensely powerful. But it really boiled down to his final three of, I mean, the Lakers with LeBron and AD, the Clippers, who at the time did not have another superstar, so they were kind of flying under the radar, and then going back to Toronto. And I really did not see a Clippers deal in the future, but then guess what? He had been low-key recruiting Paul George, and he signed, so he's like, oh, Kawhi to the Clippers, wow. Not 5 minutes later, Woj bomb alert, and it's Paul George getting traded to the Clippers as well, to team up with Kawhi for Gallinari and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, as well as a bevy of draft picks. So, I mean, the Paul George thing, nobody really saw coming. We thought OKC was kind of out of free agency. They were keeping their roster, trying to compete for another championship, and they blow up the ship. But Sam Presti, got to give him credit, gets a haul of draft picks for that Paul George deal. Arguably made the Anthony Davis trade look minuscule compared to what they got for Paul George. But then, that's not all, guys. You look at the rest of the league. So parity restored. That's what everyone's saying in the NBA. All these, instead of super teams, it's a bunch of superstars teaming together. And so there have been a lot of shifts in power. Okay, Jimmy Butler, he leaves Philadelphia, he's in Miami, doesn't have another superstar with him. What does Philadelphia do to respond? They re-sign Tobias Harris, they extend Ben Simmons on a max contract, they keep Joel Embiid, and they add Al Horford. So Philly is really looking like a top contender in the East, especially considering Boston lost Kyrie Irving, but replaced him with Kemba Walker, because Kemba did not get the deal he wanted in Charlotte. So then, New York, what did they get? Nothing. But Brooklyn, the baby brother, they get Kyrie Irving, and they steal Kevin Durant from the Warriors. Okay, well, the Warriors re-sign Klay Thompson. They lose DeMarcus Cousins to the Lakers, though, on a minimum. That is one of the biggest steals, I think, of this free agency period that not a lot of people are talking about. If Boogie Cousins, former max contract qualified guy, if he can return to form at least to what he looked like even in New Orleans after Sacramento before, a bunch of injuries, obviously, it's been tough to see. The Lakers really have a big three because Boogie Cousins is perennial all-star talent, and he really is an immensely talented player. So if he can get back on track, then the Lakers are really going to be a scary team, especially because they loaded up with depth. Danny Green, Troy Daniels, JaVale McGee re-signed, Boogie Cousins now, Jared Dudley veteran presence. It's a lot of depth pieces that after Kawhi didn't sign with them, they went out and got. Okay, so that rotation is looking better and better. Will it compete with the Clippers, with Lou Will, Montrezl Harrell? These are guys who can play. They can hoop, and the battle for Staples Center is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Let me tell you that much. But elsewhere around the league, the biggest news, as of recently at least, is now, after Paul George gets traded to the Clippers to team up with Kawhi, what happens with Russell Westbrook? Because they're obviously not in any type of playoff contention mode now, and do they keep their all-star MVP, former MVP player, to non-playoff contender? Non-championship contender, because I still think they would have been a playoff contender. That's a tough situation. Well, I think they handled it really well. They talked to him and his agent, and they get him a deal to his preferred destination. He's teaming up with former Arizona State Sun Devil James Harden in Houston. And this is something that, look, James Harden gets another former MVP, former teammate, because he was the sixth man in OKC when Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook were there. They were kind of the big three at the time, like 7 years ago, but the league has changed, and these two players have immensely changed. James Harden and Russell Westbrook have two of the highest usage rates in the NBA. How is it going to work? I don't know. But Chris Paul is no longer in the picture because he gets shipped to Oklahoma City in the deal along with a bevy of draft picks again. So Sam Presti collecting the futures of Oklahoma City, collecting the futures of the LA Clippers and the Houston Rockets in moving his two superstars. Now they can rebuild with young pieces, Danilo Gallinari, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's really good. He is an immensely talented player who will be a pivotal piece in the Thunder's rebuild. But for the next 8 to 9 years, Oklahoma City is going to have so much draft potential. And, Sam Presti is doing what Danny Ainge was doing in Boston, but he's doing it the right way and in the way that will lead to success, in my opinion, because a lot of fire for Danny Ainge right now with not doing much with his actual draft choices. But, Russell Westbrook now teaming up with James Harden in Houston. How will that work? It's going to be really interesting to see. But the West is so loaded when you look at it. Look at the teams. Look at the duos now. The Lakers, AD, LeBron, and if Boogie Cousins can get to that level again, that's a scary triplet right there. The Clippers, Kawhi, and Paul George. You also have perennial sixth man of the year Lou Williams there, a bucket every time he's on the court. Then, let's shift over Golden State. Still, Klay Thompson gonna be rehabbing from injury, but still got Steph Curry, Draymond Green. Okay, boom, that's a team that won finals without Kevin Durant. Okay, boom, you move over to Denver. Wow, they have Paul Millsap, Nikola Jokic, who was probably the best center in the league, Jamal Murray, up-and-coming talent, Gary Harris. Their depth is unreal. I mean, that is a scary team. Then, okay, let's go to Utah. They get rid of Ricky Rubio, and guess what? They keep Donovan Mitchell, who's obviously so talented, the Spider. But, I mean, their roster, they get Bogdan Bogdanovic. They get some pieces that are really going to fill out their roster. Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year. That is a really scary team. And Portland, they still have Dame and CJ McCollum. One of the best backcourts in the league, in my opinion. And guess what? They draft Nasir Little, sleeper pick, who fell to like the bottom of the first round somehow. I don't know how that happened, but that... man, it's just so much talent on these rosters. Guess what? New Orleans, they load up from the AD trade. They basically take the Lakers' young core. So they got Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, former ASU Sun Devil Zylan Cheatham, who's going to be a sneaky good player in the NBA. He's a player you want to have on your team. But Jackson Hayes, who's been balling out in Summer League. Very, very young roster who might not be contending right now, but in a few years, they are scary. I'm telling you right now, that team is very scary. With all the draft stashes that they have going on right now, that is an immensely talented team. Now look at the East. Okay, Brooklyn, Kyrie, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's going to be injured, coming back from injury, but Kyrie, can he lead that ship? Oh, by the way, I didn't even mention that D'Angelo Russell, probably, second runner-up to Pascal Siakam in Most Improved Player, All-Star this year, over 20 points per game this year. He's a Golden State Warrior too. Sign and trade from Brooklyn because Brooklyn got Kyrie Irving. Well, that's a wrap, everyone. Anybody wanting to connect with me, the Sports Watchdog, on Twitter can do so at @SportsWatchdog, and on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as well at The Sports Watchdog. So until next time, keep your eye on the ball.
The Sports Watchdog.
The Sports Watchdog, Mason Kern.